It doesn't matter what side, minority, majority, it's wrong to do this.
Why couldn't you go to one of the hostels that the government has set up?
Because of the skin color. Yeah, and yeah, it's not well. We just help white people, yeah, because there's no other place that does it. You know, if you go to there's many places I know, Jesus Disciples, Manger, those places they take blacks and they put the whites out.
That's from her documentary, but we had her on a couple weeks ago when she first released it, and the media pretty much ignored it. And then they started calling her out, saying she's siding with white supremacists. Like completely missing what's going on here. And they're bordering on genocide now. They've already warned them, don't worry, we're not going to hurt you yet, is basically what they're saying to the farmers.
And what was the quote from the president? This time of reconciliation is over.
Right.
In a country with Nelson Mandela, that's saying something.
Apartheid was wrong. We know that. To say that a minority is controlling the majority and basically enslaving them. But we've heard just the opposite when it comes to America. You have to pay attention to every minority. Now, I'm not saying that I support apartheid. I'm just saying, can everybody treat each other well? One vote, one person? It's pretty simple.
The only ones covering what's happening or supposedly happening in South Africa right now really are alt-right sources all around the world. We cannot find a single legitimate source that's telling us what's going on in South Africa. So that means it's either not happening, which I don't believe, or the media is not covering it because they've already decided what's right, what's wrong.
And much of it is confirmed, by the way. The government themselves have said it. There's policies going into effect. You know, there's disagreements.
There's nobody covering the people who are frightened.
And why not? It's a minority population.
Their cameras somehow found their way to South Africa back in the day.
Yeah.
They had no problem finding it when it was apartheid.
One of the most insane things I witnessed when I was in South Africa was the lengths that people go to protect themselves and their homes. Luckily, I'm now back in the snowy tundra of Canada, where we lock our doors and maybe at most have a camera set up to deter burglary. And that actually works. But in the wild west that is South Africa, that kind of negligence is a death wish. What was even more bizarre is I expected this kind of security to be limited to maybe rural farmers isolated on their property. But no, that wasn't the case at all. This kind of fortified home was commonplace for your average working class family all throughout South Africa. Everywhere I looked, there were armed response signs. People no longer rely on the police here. They just can't do the job. Many households instead have private security firms on speed dial. And in fact, many neighborhoods have armed patrols and security WhatsApp groups made up of residents in the area. One we spoke to said they check into it every morning just to make sure they're still alive and not harmed. It's almost impossible for me to convey just how low trust the climate is here and how on edge everything is. So maybe this example will do it for you. In South Africa, there are 3 times as many private security personnel than there are police and army combined. When people go to bed here, it's not just lock the doors. It's not just shut the blinds. It's double check that your barbed wire electric gates outside are locked, pull down the metal bars on your windows and doors, then walk up the stairs to your bedroom and then close the gate in front of your bedroom door and then lock your bedroom door. In case the people get into your house, then also make sure to sleep with a gun on your bedside table or under your pillow. Here's what Dan Root, a political commentator out of Johannesburg, had to say about the issue.
Life in Johannesburg mostly happens indoors. You move from one secure environment or one security complex to another, or you could move from a gated community to a shopping center, but everything is guarded. And we've probably built more walls in the last 20 years than there are bricks in the Great Wall of China. You know, if you move around Johannesburg, the thing that will strike you the most is that everything is walled in and electrified, and it's very difficult to cope with. I mean, there are coping mechanisms, and I think you can hire private security guards and, have smash and grab film on your car windows all the time. And but yeah, you know, it's not that easy to live with.
These security measures are a symbol of a country in crisis, a crisis that is changing the very culture in South Africa. When we talk about crime in South Africa, when we talk about farm attacks, when we talk about the black and the white populations, it's hard to really understand the climate here until you see it, until you've lived in it. People in South Africa do not live like we do in the West. And these security gates, these lengths that they go to protect themselves, are a symptom, but also a constant reminder of just how fractured, just how damaged and tribalistic their society is.
So for the first night they broke in, and then they moved it up.
In these cells here, and then these K-Lite trays float on a. And they wanted to know when I was going to leave, and I explained to them that this was our home. That, you know, 2 generations had built this farm up from nothing. It was this bush, and the 3rd generation was starting to work on this farm. And I said to my employees, some of my employees have been with me or with the family since then. And I said, none of us wanted to leave, but if the law demanded it, we would follow the due course of law. Yeah, there was one fire here, another fire there, around the corner there. There was a fire down at the bottom there, and there was a couple of pits. On Friday, when this started, some people had obviously been sent down there, and the whole seedbed site has been trashed. The plastic has been burnt. They've dug up the seed beds. And I mean, that represents a lot of money, a lot of money.
Just do a big clean up now. And if people in the rest of the world think there's law and order in Zimbabwe, there's absolutely none. Well, there's law and order for the one party, and that's it. And anybody that has any differing opinion. So I'm just really sad. I spent a whole morning up in the communal area just last week where a woman had killed her 2 children and killed herself. She was 29 years old. She killed her baby boy of 6 months old and her son of 7 years old. When I asked the people sitting around the fire with them what was wrong, and she just said she couldn't live properly in Zimbabwe today and didn't want her children to suffer. And that's just exactly what's going on now at the moment.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's why they don't like the independent media, because you see, people will